Well, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui. And we have a special edition today. But I want to say this first of all, bring your favorite sip, your favorite sip of tea or cucumber water or whatever it might be. Maybe your favorite sip of coffee. But I want you to join me live on this edition of On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui, where people connect. And cross transformational thresholds. So some of you have already said, so who are you? And I'm going to tell you. So I am Dr. Jacqueline White Maxwell. I'm a transformational and leadership coach. I'm also the founder of Jack Lavelle Coaching and Consulting Group. And I have had the opportunity to spend years helping individuals conquer challenges and overcome obstacles that have gotten in the way of them experiencing their true destinies. So while you are sitting back, getting ready for On the Porch, I invite you to share. I invite you to like, all the things you learned in elementary school, share, like, engage, But I want you to share on the various platforms as far as your social media, and like, you might hear and see something that not only will be beneficial to you, but you might think of someone else that might be able to gain something from this. Now, if you are listening and this is a part of the replay, thank you. I first of all want to say I appreciate you taking that time, but I also want to say type #replay in the comment section. And so on the porch, we do like engagement. I mean, if you think about it, if you're sitting on the porch, somebody's going to walk by, drive by, and you engage with them. And that's what I would love for you to do. So if you want to find out more about who I am and what I do and all of those good things, I encourage you to go to jacklavelle.com. And I'll put that information up shortly, but jacklavelle.com. So why on the porch? That's a good question. You see, on the porch, we live in a culture, we live in an environment that's craving the power of community. Think about it. The front porch has always been where community has been created. So we've crossed thresholds through connection and thresholds through collective wisdom. And that's what On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui is all about. So get ready to step up on that welcome mat. But it has been created for you to enlighten, engage, and empower. All right, so let's get busy. I was thinking about needing to reclaim our sense of control. We're in a time of an uncertainty, and it's essential to reclaim what we can control. And this kind of emphasizes the work that I do and the work that our special guest does concerning grief. And if you're thinking, grief, did someone die? Well, no. Any change in a familiar pattern of behavior, it's normal and it's natural to grieve. That's right. Any change in a familiar pattern of behavior. So am I telling you, if you get a new job, you grieve? Sure, you grieve missing some of those friends, those experiences, even the trip to work. But today on the porch, we're discussing healing hearts and bridging divides. And we're featuring the founder of the Garden of Grief Healing LLC. Today we will explore the complete emotions and the complication of emotions that accompany personal and collective grief, from the loss of a loved one to the profound feelings of uncertainty. We also are going to talk a little bit about what happens during a particular season. Seasons such as various anniversaries or special days or even holidays. Well, who is our special guest? I'm glad you asked. I want you to be ready with those ears, but I also want you to be ready with your heart. I want you to be a heart with ears because we have a passionate leader, a mentor, a teacher, a grief counselor, yes, and an ordained minister, Reverend Deborah Daniels. Reverend Daniels has previously served numerous ministry positions, which have included associate minister, youth minister, financial minister, and even a director of a liturgical dance ministry. Yeah, we want to find out a little bit about that. A culmination of Reverend Daniels' life and ministry experiences has enabled her to develop ministries such as Grief and Healing and Helping Each Reach Success, hers, Helping Each Reach Success. And she also is the founder of Wednesday at the Well, Breakthrough Ministry. Reverend Daniels is the visionary behind Garden of Grief Healing, which is a grief counseling service. She's a woman of God who recognizes her vocar. Her vocar is her calling and her purpose. Her calling as well as her purpose. Her vocation as well as her calling. Reverend Deborah knows how to purposefully minister to the brokenhearted and comfort those who mourn. Reverend Deborah is called to exhort others to be empowered by God while living their truth. So get ready. I hope you've had the opportunity to share and to like. You've had the opportunity to get settled and to bring on your favorite sip and be a part of On the Porch with Dr. Jacqui and Deborah Daniels. Reverend Deborah, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, Dr. Jacqui. Thank you so much for today's opportunity to sit on the porch with you today. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So glad to have you. So glad to have you. So let's get busy and have some porch talk. I would like for you to definitely start off by sharing a little bit about your journey. What got you here and what led you to the creation of Garden of Grief.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's a story that I love sharing and telling, as it is a way for me to explain how I found meaning in my loss and the grief associated with it. So for me, I lost my parents 11 years ago. This month, actually, just before Thanksgiving, will be the 11th anniversary of my dad's passing. And my mom would die 3 months later, I believe, from a broken heart. So I went through the grief and the process while not even being aware that that is what was happening to me. I know I lost my parents, but all the things that encompass grief and loss and the emotions, the feelings, the adjustment, all those things that I navigated through. Meanwhile, God had other plans for me. I attended seminary in 2016 at the esteemed Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology, and I would take that journey. And as I went through, it was just before graduation, it was time for my capstone. And I thought about, what was I going to do with all that God had done, as you talked about, the transformational threshold, like crossing through, going through STVU and all the things, that were going to be before me. And I heard grief. I'm like, grief? Okay, as my resume states, I've done finance, liturgical dancing, youth. What else? Grief? Okay. So my capstone was a presentation about grief and healing. And I did it in honor of my parents, to do the work, even though the process was still not very clear to me what I had just gone through or was still going through. But, sometimes when you step into what, God has for you, or what is your purpose, my pain from my loss and the grief catapulted me to a place where I felt it was so important to help others not go through I went through. But let's just say walk alongside them.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how I got started. And then the more that I would pursue, I must also, I can't tell the story without talking about my former pastor, Reverend Dr. Sabrina St. Clair, who she taught a class on grief, just one class. It was a very small book. I think it was 30 questions and answers about grief. And it was right after my dad died, and I really needed it. However, I probably still hadn't absorbed everything that was taught and what the book actually stated. But there were some things that stuck out to me, like let me help you, help me help you, while you grieve. So I took this course, and then time would go on, and the pandemic would happen, and I would lose a brother in 2020. And that same pastor, who is my spiritual mentor, came back to me and presented to me information about the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals. And it would take me some time. I did fill out the application and said, you know what, maybe I should look. I mean, it would kind of, complement my capstone and the information of the things I said, that I thought I was supposed to do. And so I did that and got approved. And here I am today. Grief. So for me, it's always going to be ministry. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I was reminded that it also needed to have a business name, attached to it because of the things that were going to come in the future and the things that I would have to do and the places that I would go, which I'm still, the doors are opening and opportunities continue to present themselves. So I have, studied, and I have learned so much more because going through this process of grief is something that, our culture does not talk about. Mm-hmm. And so we don't learn it. I mean, we go to various institutions, we go for certifications, and we continue to, educate ourselves, but not normally in the topic of grief. So I am so grateful that I took that journey through the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals with the Academy of Grief Counseling and became certified so that I could, walk alongside and as intelligently as I can help others and provide grief education and provide services and just be able to speak to them in a language where they understand and where they can go through and heal. So that's my story.
Wow. What a tremendous journey. And then in the midst of your healing, you did the work. I think that's real key. More often than not, we see persons who don't take the time to do the work. And when they don't do that, then they're not able to co-journey with others and be effective. And so thank you for really elaborating. Not only did you come to where you are today as far as the ministry that you present, but you also have done some work. So it's about the testimony that goes along with the ministry in which you're presenting. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. So we're gonna talk about several different things, but one of the things that we're going to bring up will be about the holidays. Okay. But before we get to the holidays, I mean, even if we think about from a calendar perspective, many people have been dealing with various losses for weeks, just given the environment that we're in. And so I said, okay, let me list the ones that I'm aware of, that have impacted me, that have touched my life in some form or fashion. So these are some of the ones that I came up with. And those that are joining us, put some in the comment section if you would. If I missed something, put put whatever experience of a loss that you've experienced, might have experienced, from even a national perspective. One is, the first one that came to my mind that I was in the midst of was Hurricane Helene.
Oh, yeah.
That was that has been, continues to be, a major loss for so many different people. The next was, we were preparing for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but just the talk about that, and seeing that more and more on television or on the ads, that brought up some losses for some men and women.
Yes.
Another loss that I realized as I listened to the news and listened to various programs was fall back, spring forward, the time change.
Mm-hmm.
And people talked about how they knew, they recognized you have to prepare for the time change. Another loss that came about, and I heard a little bit, but not a whole lot, and that was the loss of Quincy Jones. Another loss that I've heard a lot about was in that were associated with Veterans Day.
Yes.
Persons who it was has been bittersweet. There's some who wanted to celebrate, and then there's some who had a lot of pain associated with the losses concerning Veterans Day. But the thing that I have been the most aware of that has gone on for a long time now had to do with, in preparation for our recent election. For some, it's become a loss of trust, a loss of security, a loss of hope, a loss of unity. So what I've talked about is a collection of feelings which presents itself as compound grief. Can you share a little bit, would you share a little bit, Reverend Deborah, about, compound grief, one thing on top, layers of grief?
Yeah. So first and foremost, as you stated, the many areas or the events that have taken place over these past few years that are affecting individuals on a daily basis, we have to first understand that we do grieve daily. I believe once we understand that, then compound grief will make a little more sense for individuals, okay, as they experience. The one thing about compound grief is, if you do not do the work, because grief takes work, okay? Just like we manage our finances, we manage our health, we manage our careers, we manage our lives in ways so that we live the best life possible. We have to manage our grief.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't recognize and realize, because there is an adjustment period when we have these losses, if you don't express what you're feeling, acknowledge your feelings, if you don't realize that it is okay when you're not okay, and we have to wear these different masks, as we go through life, you do not have to be strong, because you'll have one event that may take place. Say, for instance, we had COVID, okay, that happened. And then all the other things that took place. And so you named so many. If you have not still gotten the healing, or let's just say not really the healing, because the healing is ongoing, but if you have not gotten to a place of adjustment, even after the pandemic, how are you going to move on to the next thing?
That's right.
So it kind of reminds me, Dr. Jacqui, of when my dad died, right? I was grieving my dad. My mom dies 3 months later. Now I'm having to shift my grief from my dad, now to my mom.
Wow.
So that's like, we were grieving during the pandemic. Then here comes some other things that came up. Then the annual September 11th anniversary that we all, the world just You know,
Mm-hmm.
we'll still grieve 9/11. Then comes, Hurricane Helene and all the other things that you mentioned. And then all the other things, James Earl Jones, and then there's
Mm.
Beverly for those, who
That's
don't,
right. That's right.
all the things. I mean, these are the things, like you said, the changes that have taken place. These are the things that have helped us get through, whether we listen to their music, watch their movies, things of that nature that have helped us, and have become a part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when these things are lost and they just continue to happen,
That's right.
compound thing, one loss on top, it comes to a point, it's like, it's too much.
That's right.
I
That's
can't
right.
handle this. I don't want to hear about another person dying, is what I typically hear
Mm-hmm.
from individuals. It's
Mm-hmm.
just too much.
Right.
So,
So true. So true. And
yeah,
so much needed. Those of you that are just joining us, we are so excited to have Reverend Deborah Daniels with us, and she's talking about the compound grief that we experience and what happens when it goes unattended, when it goes unattended. And then she, but it's a good segue though into uh, the holidays.
yes,
So if you think about it, and I don't know if I have ever approached it from this perspective, is it possible that the holiday season is, which is always the 12th, around the 10th, 11th, 12th month of the year is when you hear the most about it. Is
right,
it possible, Reverend Deborah, that it becomes so overwhelming and overbearing to people because there's been unattended grief from January until the end of the year, and then it carries on to the next year, and then it's that baggage that we pack some baggage, and then we go to the airport, and then we try to take all that we can possibly take on board.
right.
We can't believe that it's a 50-pound suitcase that we're getting ready to, you know, it's what we continually take when those relationships have never been addressed, the relationship to the loss.
Right.
So the holidays can be especially difficult time for people who are grieving. What are some things that you can possibly start right now as far as preparation?
Absolutely. So, and I love what you said about, the baggage and, because compartmentalizing the emotions or these losses, you can't make them go away because they're part of who you are. And if you don't, because they are attached to you, these things, the persons, the music, the events, if you didn't live in the state where Hurricane Helene, someone you may have known, and then, all the talk of all the other hurricanes that were, headed our way or the way of those that you love. But the holidays, I would say most individuals started feeling something probably around November 1st.
Mhm.
You start feeling different. You start feeling, a little more down, and you might try to, attribute it to maybe the time change, as you said, falling back, things of that nature. But it's a culmination of things. There's a
Mhm.
lot, because if you do not have a conversation, have a support person, be able to talk about it. That's what
Mhm.
people need, is to be able to talk about what they're feeling, what they're going through, how it's affecting them. And
Mhm.
again, being witness and just giving themselves grace, really. And
Mhm.
it's okay that you're not okay.
Yes.
And the holidays with we've already started seeing the Target commercials, we've already started seeing the Macy's commercials, all those things in preparation of the holidays. And so
Mhm.
here we have persons who are without loved ones, because holidays are based on relationships. We're having to readjust how we do things.
Mhm.
So really acknowledging, once again, acknowledging what you're feeling is so helpful. I'm not okay. I don't know how I'm going to spend the holiday. I don't know what I'm going to do. What about the traditions? What about what we used to do? There are so many ways that you can approach it. One way is to do what you can. If you can't do anything, then don't. It's okay. If you tell someone that, I will participate in your holiday festivities, but then on the day that the holiday, say on Thanksgiving, you're so emotionally and physically showing symptoms, and you're not able to even get up out of the bed on those days, that's okay. Don't pressure yourself into doing something that you may regret. And then you may be going through some of the stages. You may become angry when you get to a place and, you're not in the best of moods. Now, what I'm not saying isolate, but I'm saying be aware, acknowledge what you're feeling and be aware of what you're capable of doing. And again, if you're not able to do anything, it's okay. It's okay to even change traditions. Maybe a staycation, maybe a change of scenery for the holidays.
Yes.
Necessary for this year because so much has taken place. And to those of you who are all a part of, say, a family unit, and this is what we've been doing for years, you have to understand that each person's grief is unique. Every person will not go through grief the same way.
Absolutely.
So you might be wanting to continue the tradition, gathering together around the table and, cooking food, but in silence because you don't want to upset anybody. So you're not talking about what happened, especially if you had the loss of a loved one. You can find other ways of, having, creating new traditions is another way you can do it. There's just so many different things. You can volunteer at a place, to give back, to know that there are some people who have it a lot, worse, not to take away from anyone's pain or their associate with the loss, but there's so many ways that we can give back. Again, just really being in touch and intentional, doing what grief requires, because it does require work. You have to check in with yourself, and you absolutely must give yourself grace and give yourself permission to mourn the changes and the losses that you've experienced.
Ooh, this is so good. It's so good. And those of you that are just tuning in, thank you for being a part of our conversation on the porch with Dr. Jacqui. And we are joined by Reverend Deborah Daniels. She's the founder of Garden of Grief Healing, LLC. And so we're so glad for her to share with us healing hearts and bridging divides and navigating losses during these difficult, challenging times. So one of the things, as our time kind of comes to an end, but one of the things that I'm aware of is the power of connection. That's really important on the porch. But when we understand exactly how we're connected to each other, we have a better understanding of how we can heal and how we can grow. But in this case, I want you to share, because I know you got something major that's upcoming, and I'm excited. I'm excited for you. And that is a grief retreat, a virtual grief retreat. And those of you that are part of this conversation, this is something, if you need to go get a pen, a paper, or a calendar or whatever, but this is something you definitely want to be a part of. So, Reverend Deborah, go on and share, share with all of us about what's upcoming, what's on the horizon, because I know we don't want to miss this.
Thank you so much. I'm smiling because I'm just so grateful to be able to provide and, fulfill needs. People don't, again, realize what they need, and community is really what we need. We need support. We need community. We need to be able to witness one another when we're going through these life experiences. So what I have done for the last couple of years, I try to provide a platform where I can reach as many people as possible. So the best way, but the pandemic taught us a lot, is via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hosting the annual fall retreat because it is still fall, although we're approaching the holidays. But we want to get in front of, we want to prepare you for what's to come. Again, I said a lot of people may already be feeling the heaviness associated with the three major holidays that are coming. There's Thanksgiving, there's Christmas, and then there's the New Year that a lot of people don't attribute to being something that people grieve. I hear more people say it's not really Thanksgiving, it's not really Christmas, it's going into the new year with that major loss that has taken place. Okay, so on November 16th, which is this coming Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be hosting the fall grief retreat. I have some guest speakers that are coming on to share about their experience with holiday loss. Some are even authors who have written about their story. One has a activity book to help you with hope for the holidays. And so, and again, I'll be sharing information, going into more detail about ways that you can navigate through the holidays as you grieve, because it is a very difficult time. And so we want to be as best prepared as we can. We want to have coping strategies of, a specific thing comes up, say you're invited. Also for the person who's a caregiver or a support person who you may want the best for the person that you're supporting. You may want to ask them to come and be a part of, but it's really not what they are ready to do. You need to know it's okay if they don't attend. We're a part of a fix-it society, and we think we have to fix people, but they're not broken. They're grieving. So come join me on Saturday for the grief retreat. You will register to attend. And if you visit my website, or there's flyers on my Facebook page, my personal and my business page, and Dr. Jacqui, I can share it with you so that you'll be able to share it with your viewers. And then you would need to register to attend this event. Will be about 2.5 hours. And again, you come in, stay as long as you'd like. And glean and witness and be in support of others who are grieving. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to share about that. So
yes, absolutely, and we're going to make sure that information is in our feed, and I'll post that on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. I'll just post it everywhere that you send it to me. I will make sure it is visible, and because we want to ensure that those who have joined us and those who have joined in, thank you so much. They have joined in, been a part of this conversation, and this is important. This is critical, crucial. I'll even say conversation, often that we don't want to have, but when we acknowledge and recognize that we always have some sort of losses in our life, even as you talked about going into the new year. It's a loss. We recognize we will never see 2024 again. And so being able to grab hold and be intentional about our time and being good stewards of our time and our resources is so very paramount. So again, Reverend Deborah, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom, for sharing with us. We're excited that information is going to be great. I'm seeing one of our listeners to say, please share how to access the retreats this Saturday and how to sign up. Thank you so much to Bailey Williams for being a part of this conversation. That's going to be put in the chat for you, so you can be a part of that. All right, excellent. All right, any parting thoughts or comments, any words of wisdom that you might have for our audience before we leave?
Absolutely. Again, first and foremost, know that grief is normal. Know that it's okay, that you're not okay, even with the outcome of the most recent election. If I could also leave you with this, be kind. For everyone you meet, is fighting a battle. Everyone is going through something that you may know about or you may not know about. So just be kind. And thank you so much again for this opportunity to do what I love to do. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right. We are so happy that we've had this opportunity to talk about some important conversations, some valuable conversations that can impact our lives in so many different ways. Those of you that have asked, how can I get in contact with you? Some of you have information. I'm going to put up a flyer there so that you can see. You can utilize that QR code right there. We typically have this on the porch with Dr. Jacqui on first and third Tuesdays, but this was such a special event, and I wanted to promote exactly what was going on. So go to the QR code there, as well as at the bottom you see some different ways of reaching out to me. Please take the time to reach out. Okay. Then some of you have also asked, are there other ways to stay connected and be a part of my email list? There's all of the information right there, jacklavelle.com. Okay. I want to make sure that you know how to make the connection. We heard that it's necessary to do the work, and I want you to make the connection. I'm real appreciative of all that you have done. I want to say thank you to each one of you for staying in touch with me and reaching out to me. And then if you make the decision to reach out to me, and I do have complimentary sessions that I will offer you to make that connection. Okay, and so that we can talk one-on-one, so we can do some face-to-face, some individual something. Okay, all right. Well, again, thank you so much. Keep in mind that somebody's depending on you. How are you gonna show up? Yeah, take care of you, take care of yourself, as you take care of others, so that you can continue in this journey and be the light in a dark place that someone else might need. Be blessed, and see you next time. Bye-bye.